So in 2023, things were finally supposed to change for these Jets when they traded for quarterback Aaron Rodgers from the Packers. And after all these quarterbacks that they had, it was like Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, and then all the backups that they had to go through, it seemed like by getting Aaron Rodgers, it seemed like the Packers were finally going to make a run at the playoffs. Unfortunately, all that hope, all that optimism that the Jets and its fan base finally had, it ended in just 4 plays. On a Monday night against the Buffalo Bills, it all came crashing down. Aaron Rodgers was gone just in the blink of an eye with a torn Achilles. And right back they were with the quarterback carousel that has been haunting them for the last decade. And also, when it comes to this past season, the quarterback carousel of trying not to start Zach Wilson every chance they got en route to another 7-10 finish. So, sure, they tried to bring back Aaron Rodgers, but it just wasn't panning out as they couldn't make the playoffs. So they were hoping that Aaron Rodgers would get healthy during this past offseason, which he so far is clearly is on track to, but they're gonna have to be banking on his health all season long. So when it comes to this past offseason, they made some moves. They made some moves to try and better their team, like trading for edge rusher Hassan Reddick from the Philadelphia Eagles in return for a 2nd or 3rd round pick in 2026. But when it comes to Hassan Reddick, it seems like he doesn't have any interest in playing for this team. Kind of interesting when you think about it. And he's like, I don't know if I want to play here, pal. So already some dissension between Gang Green and Reddick. Woof. And then on the offensive side of the ball, the Jets want to better invest in the offensive line because that was a really big weakness for them. So they went out and traded for Morgan Moses from the Baltimore Ravens in return for this year's 6th round pick, and swapped some 4th round picks as well in this year's draft. So a key piece comes over to the offensive line and hopefully better protect Aaron Rodgers. So if you're the Jets, with what happened this year, you clearly have one goal in mind, and that is make the playoffs for the first time since 2010. It's been that long since they made the playoffs. And if you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who could have had that last year, but he got injured, this year has to be the year for the Jets. Looking at some of the moves that they made in free agency and the draft, they lost players like Bryce Huff, Jordan Whitehead, and Bryce Hall, and then Quinton Jefferson. So mostly on the defensive side of the ball, but maybe for the Jets, they weren't as valuable to them anymore. So they added the likes. It was a mix between both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, like receiver Mike Williams from the Chargers. It was like, okay. It's a little 50-50 on that one, but we'll talk about why that is. And then defensively, you got Javon Kinlaw for the 49ers. In my opinion, it's a test. It's a test for Kinlaw because he had some moments, but he just never panned out for San Francisco. And then they continued to beef up the offensive line with John Simpson and Tyron Smith from the Ravens and the Cowboys, respectively. Both were pretty good linemen on their teams, but they do come with some concerns. More on that in a bit. In the draft, they continued to try and beef up their offensive line by adding tackle Olu Fasanu from Penn State. So that was a good pick there. And then they tried to beef up the receiving corps by adding Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky, as well as a running back by the name of Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. So when you look at all these moves for the New York Jets, and some of them are good, some of them not so good, but the thing I took away the most for this team is, well, their health. Their health is a serious concern for more than half of this roster. I mean, of course, Aaron Rodgers is the biggest concern because you don't want a repeat of last year, especially when it comes with less than four to five plays into the season. But yeah, he's still rehabbing from that Achilles injury, and it's just not just his health, but his age. He turns 41 during the season, and they better hope that he keeps up the play to play, not just before the injury, but years before that. So he can still sling the ball, but they better hope he can still do that. But they also have to keep him upright and, have the proper talent around him, which could be a challenge. Because, starting with left tackle, Tyron Smith, he's very athletic, he's very bold. He was a really good protector, doing such with Dak Prescott in Dallas. But he hasn't played a full season in a couple of years, which is why they drafted Fasanu at pick number 11 for a reason. So they're hoping that Tyron Smith can stay healthy. They can develop Fasanu, or maybe use him in a rotation with Tyron Smith, or maybe use Fasanu somewhere else, at maybe right tackle. I don't know. And then you look at Mike Williams. He was a big target for Justin Herbert in LA, but he's also very injury prone. And he's also coming off a torn ACL. They also put him on the PUP list. So he's not going to be available for the first 4 games of the season. So you're already down a starting receiver. This is not good for the Jets. Already not a good start for them. And then running back Breece Hall. At least he's the one that managed to stay healthy all year, off a torn ACL the previous year. But they better make sure he stays healthy, because that was my one concern from last year. Breece Hall staying healthy. It's also maybe a reason why they drafted Braylon Allen from Wisconsin, in case of emergency break glass situation. So when you look at the Jets, there's potential with this team, but their schedule is a little tough. We're starting with week 1, you go play on a Monday night again. It's like maybe the NFL schedule makers had something against them. You go to San Francisco and play the San Francisco 49ers, the defending NFC champions. And then a couple weeks later, you go host the New England Patriots, the rebuilding Patriots. I mean, it should be hopefully no problem for them, right? On a Thursday night, only on Amazon Prime Video. But the biggest test for them comes again on a Monday night, where the injury happened. Just not in week 1. It happens in week 6 against the Buffalo Bills at home. For the Jets at least. But damn, they better hope that nothing happens in that game that's so significant on their team. So obviously, my biggest questions go back to the theme of this season preview: health. Because you have to wonder if Aaron Rodgers still has what it takes. That if he stays healthy, does he still have what it takes to get to the Jets a playoff berth? Because, he's getting older. He's not getting any healthier. But for the Jets, the most important thing that they need to do is keep this man healthy. And they also have to hope that he doesn't drop off, talent-wise this year. And I guess I'm repeating this question again. Can they all stay healthy? I guess that's just simple as that. Can they all stay healthy? Will they stay healthy? They all got to stay healthy. So there's potential for this Jets team to make the playoffs. They can go as far as the divisional. I'm not so sure about the AFC Championship quite yet with this team, because they still have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL or of all time in Aaron Rodgers. And you also have a good receiving room when healthy, and one of the best defenses in the NFL. Let's not forget that. They have a very strong defense, especially in the secondary with Sauce Gardner leading the pack. But whether they can actually make it there is going to greatly depend on the word of the day: health, especially with Aaron Rodgers. And even staying mostly healthy should be good enough for this team to net themselves a playoff berth. But if they can't do that, then change is likely going to come, especially if you're head coach Robert Saleh. And, the word health is going to be the one thing that makes the New York Jets in 2024 the most unpredictable team in the NFL, because that injury cloud is going to be really hanging above them.